It's finally time for episode 2 of the Racing Game versus Reality series. Yeah, I know I technically did 2 episodes already, but the last one I'm calling episode 1.5. This time we're headed somewhere new, somewhere a bit different. I'm talking about the Roval at Charlotte Motor Speedway. No, I won't be driving a stock car, although that would be fun. I'll be using my poor 4-door street car again. So wait, you mean to tell me that you can just go drive your car around a NASCAR track? Yes, you can, and if you have enough track experience, you can even drive it at night. I do this event every year, and it's always a riot. There's nothing quite like zipping around a track in the dark. Now, if you've seen the first 1.5 episodes, you have, right? Then you might remember my little Focus RS wasn't doing so hot at the end of that one. But I put a lot of blood, sweat, and expensive brake fluid into it and got it back into track shape. It's still stock, and I'm still running the same Falcon Street tires, which could be a wise choice if it does rain. And I hope it rains. Anyway, off to North Carolina. Now, when most people think of NASCAR tracks, they think of driving in an endless circle, but Charlotte, like a lot of NASCAR tracks, has an infield. There are right turns and even a couple chicanes. And there are walls, lots of them. Aside from the steep banks of the oval, this is what sets these tracks apart from other road courses. There is not much runoff, and those walls aren't made of paper. A small mistake at Charlotte can be costly. Charlotte is also as predictable as a swarm of bees in the summer. You can pretty much count on a thunderstorm wiping out at least one of your sessions during an event. And even the course itself can change from year to year. So I'm going to tackle this one a bit differently. I'll run the real life track first, and then try to replicate the conditions in this episode's chosen racing sim, Assetto Corsa. Now, right off the bat, I could tell this was going to be an uphill battle. There were nearly 200 cars signed up for the event, which meant a lot of traffic. Also, I found out at the drivers' meeting that we would not be running the first chicane, which is a bit of a curveball, as you'll see later on. The muscle car guys love this because it means higher top speed and less chance of being run down by a Miata in the infield. But I happen to like that chicane. Oh well. Not only was I battling traffic, but I was also battling the focus. It's usually a race to see what overheats first on this car at this event, but this time around it was wheel sensor issues. I don't know what it is about this track, maybe the banking, but my all-wheel drive always shuts down here. It'll get some reading from the wheel sensors that it doesn't like and just become front-wheel drive for a little bit. It was on and off for the first couple sessions, giving me a best time of 137.7. Then I got my wish. But when it rains, it pours and thunders and shuts down racetracks. By the time the storm let up and I got back out on track again, it was sort of dry, I would say damp. It made for some interesting conditions, but didn't really slow me down a lot, and it seemed like the all-wheel drive system was much happier and didn't send me sliding into the wall. My best damp time was only a hair slower at 138.12. As the sun set and the lights came on, the track dried out and the air cooled a bit. I knew I had a shot at my fastest time of the night. Tragically, I didn't get a single lap in completely free of traffic, but I did set a best dry time of 1 minute 36.85. I only got slowed down a little bit at the end, so I don't think my time would have been that much faster. With one last night session left, the rain made a surprise return, but this time the lightning kept its distance, so they turned us loose on a completely soaked course. There were only 5 of us that chose to chance it in this downpour, including this brave Miata. But after a few laps, everyone else hit the pits, and I was the only idiot still out there. Okay, so I took it really easy, shifting early and leaving what I felt was a big safety margin. Still, doing 120 in the pouring rain was an exciting finish to a long day. My best time for that session was a whopping 1 minute 54.31 seconds. I'm sure I can beat that in Assetto Corsa because, well, crashing in video games is free. With that fun but exhausting Saturday out of the way, it's time to head back to Tennessee and try out the track in Assetto Corsa. Now, I found a really good rendition of Charlotte Motor Speedway ahead of time. It was posted on a Facebook group that makes NASCAR mods for Assetto Corsa. They've got 2 layouts for both the oval and the roval, featuring the infield track. Check the video description for a link to a video that has a link to this track. But remember earlier when I said there was a curveball? Well, the event organizers left the first chicane open, but this Assetto Corsa version has a big fat wall in the way, so I just deleted it. No, I won't be sharing this modified version of the track because it's not mine to share, but there are plenty of videos out there on modifying tracks in Assetto Corsa, so if you want to do it yourself, have at it. Now, the weather at Charlotte did not disappoint, so we've got a lot of conditions to play with here. Of course, I want to compare the dry lap times during the day, but I also want to see what Assetto Corsa is like in the rain at night. Thanks to some great mods, I can do just that. Let's start out easy though. Dry track in the heat of the afternoon. Do green track, 88 degrees sounds about right, and we'll throw in some clouds. I'm using the same Focus RS mod by Thompson YT from episode 1.5, and using street tires. One change I will make that I didn't catch in the last episode, there's a drivetrain bias option on this car that is for some reason set to 2% by default. I remember reading some marketing material before this car came out stating that the drivetrain could push up to 70% of the power to the rear wheels, so I'll set it there. Alright, let's go! I gotta say, this feels pretty familiar. The big difference is that my oil temps aren't steadily creeping towards the red, and all-wheel drive isn't shutting off. Also, I'm not sure if I could go piling into this turn at this speed. I don't know, maybe I could? This is a bad spot to find the limit. Whoa, I don't remember seeing that Ferris wheel out there.
Bet you $10 he puts that Ford in the wall.
Be doing that car a favor.
So, fastest lap in the dry? 1 minute 31.92 seconds. Almost 5 seconds faster than my real life laps. Why the big gap? One reason is power. Look at the top speed on this straight. Yeah, my car isn't as fast as this Assetto Corsa version. I don't think it's broken, it's just hot. Although, even with no traffic and a cool engine, this would be a tough time to achieve, but not impossible. Even though I set the track condition to green for this test, I feel like Assetto Corsa is giving me the absolute best case scenario. Now let's throw a little rain into the mix. I'm using a mod called RainFX that I did have to pay for. I'll put a link in the description for how to get this mod. Not only does it add rain effects, but it includes extended physics to make the track more slick depending on how much rain is falling. So let's see how that affects lap times. I'll replicate that damp session I had where it was just barely raining. I'll set the weather to light drizzle. I'm going to drop the temps a bit because it did cool off nicely after that rain. So there's a bit less grip, but it's not used car salesman slippery. The big difference is the painted surfaces. One thing you'll hear again and again at track safety briefings is stay off the paint in the rain. There's a lot of paint at Charlotte, and yeah, it gets slick. RainFX nails this. You can even feel the tires slip a bit going over these lines. but other than that, I feel like I can just go about as fast as Oops.
Ha! I told you, you owe me $10.
Man, I don't know you shit. Didn't do no handshake over there.
Well, that happened. Where did that wall even come from? I don't remember that being there in real life. Well, I got 7 good laps in, with the fastest lap of 136.43. Wow, that's actually really close to what I got in real life. Now, let's crank up the rain and bring on the night. I only got a handful of laps in that last session, and I was super careful, so I'm betting I'll smash that time in Assetto Corsa. And I'll try not to smash the car this time. Okay, this is slippery. Even in an all-wheel drive car, I'm having to be very conservative with my steering, brake, and throttle inputs. If the rear end starts to come around, I can just give it some throttle and get it stable. With this much rain, there's a limit on how fast I can go in this big straight here. At about 120 miles per hour, the car just starts to dance. I managed to get a whole 20-minute session in though with no boo-boos and wound up with the fastest lap of 1 minute and 48.72 seconds. A good 6 seconds faster than real life, but about what I expected. I have some wet track experience, but not a lot. I mean, I got passed by this Miata at one point. So picking up 6 seconds here is absolutely possible. Thanks to X4Fab for making this great mod, and it really takes Assetto Corsa to a whole new level. And thanks to the Assetto Corsa NASCAR mod group for adding all these cool tracks to Assetto Corsa. Here's a final rundown of the lap times. Yes, I did get slowed a bit by traffic on my best dry lap, but I don't think it was by more than a second. So, more of a gap here than Road Atlanta, and I'm not surprised. Charlotte Motor Speedway is very unforgiving with all its walls and barriers and whatnot, so I don't push it as much there. And it was hot, which really takes a toll on the car's performance. And mine as well. But at least nothing broke this time. I really gotta give the old Focus a break though. Maybe a different car next time? Give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed the video, subscribe if you want to see more of these, and leave me a comment if you just want to leave me a comment. This has been Unreasonable Speed. Thanks for watching.
I need another beer.
Yep.